Hey guys, good morning. Nealay Patel here with Jesse James Beads. Welcome to Wake and Make in the Mornings. I'm pretty excited. My job is to give you guys new ideas, inspiration for your everyday jewelry making using Jesse James Beads. I can definitely tell that there is some creative and innovative ideas that y'all are picking up from the contest entries as well as some of the things that y'all are posting. So I'm glad that these videos are helping you guys to be creative and find new ideas and inspirations out there. Now, speaking of, I actually wanted to recap some of my favorite designs using the Egyptian Goddesses collection. And I've just been super inspired and excited to use these different beads. And I picked out a few that I've been making through these different demo and tutorial videos that I wanted to share with you guys real quick. Now, I hope you guys remember this one of my absolute favorites. In this tutorial, we learned how to glue the little bead cap and attach a little dangle off of it to create a really unique pendant there. And we're just using silver silk to hang it off of. So I just thought this was a really cool dynamic design. You could really throw it on with any type of outfit and still look extra sparkly. So I really dig this one. Another favorite design of mine was these earrings that we made. We used these cool spike dangles and we actually used vintage patina paints to paint the bottom. And it kind of gives the stone a little more dimension and some interest. It kind of looks like one stone with different color variations, which I really love. So it's a really fun idea, and all we did was just connect them using these little simple loops and beads onto the little ear wires, and they make some really fun earrings. So I love those. I also really loved this pendant that we made together. I mean, check out how wild that is. I absolutely love this for many reasons. One is this component's just so cool. It's got several different prongs in the back so you can hang off a lot of different beads. And Jesse James Beads has this beautiful bead woven pendant connector that I got, and I wanted to incorporate something else into this that has a little bit more texture because this is so solid. So I think this worked out pretty well just to, again, make a really statement pendant piece, a say something pendant, if you will. So, and it does have a little tassel at the end. So I really love this one as well. And then a couple days ago, we made these easy earrings using vintage scarabs, which are, whoops, if I can get a good angle here. And we just use the Egyptian Goddesses mini mix to gather some elements and hang some beads off of it. So pretty easy. I made these in about 5 minutes. But a really unique idea, and I think there's just something really cool about bugs, especially since spring is coming up. So I really love this design. So lots of ideas, inspiration, and creativity for you guys, and all of these projects can be found on a couple different places. One is the Jesse James Beads website, blog, so hit up one too many W's there, jessejamesbeads.com, and look for the blog and you'll find all of these projects out there. You can also find them on YouTube, so just search for Jesse James Beads and you will find these designs and a bunch more on there, so definitely subscribe. Now, for today's project, which I'm pretty excited about, I wanted to really badly use the Nile pendant. So I have half of this complete, so bear with me. It looks like this. This truly is a Say Something pendant, and I wanted to make it mixed media, so I actually just hung it off of some leather cord and some of this beautiful chevron chain, which I've actually got more of. Let's just take a close-up on this pendant, though. Isn't that just gorgelicious? Now, because it's so busy, I didn't want to string it up with beads a whole lot. I wanted to keep the chain part of it pretty simple, and so I think this is a nice balance. but I wanted to show you what the other side, or how to put together the other side so that it's a complete necklace. But real quick, the chain, let's talk about the chain for a second, because I am dying over this. This is so beautiful. It comes in many different colors. I happen to have this beautiful lapis blue and this lighter blue color in my inventory, but it is a brass chain with these little beads on them to create that chevron chain. So I just thought this was a perfect addition, especially for the Egyptian vibe that I'm going for. So I'm gonna actually pan the camera down to give you my work surface, and we'll get this project started. All right, so we got a nice clean slate here. What I have, and I'm gonna walk you through this first, is of course my Egyptian goddess's pendant. Now, as you can see, I've connected it with a bead and then onto the chain, and then I have this leather cord that starts there. So this is actually crimped. This is my little secret trap door there. So what I wanted to show you is how to wire wrap the chain onto the jump ring and to crimp it, and then attach this bottom part. So let's work with the chain first. Now here I've already wire wrapped one side, but as you can see on this other side, I don't really have it wire wrapped, and so that's where I wanted to show you. You can cut off this chain to where it has these little loops that are exposed, and that's where you'll actually create the wire wrap portion. So here I'm just using parawire. I'm so sorry that it's reflected backwards. It's 26 gauge wire, which is super thin, easy to work with, but yet strong enough to hold everything together. So I'm just going to cut a little piece using my Xuron cutters right here. You don't need much, probably just about like 5 inches or so. That's probably not even 5 inches, but that'll do the job. Okay, so I'm going to put these aside. Oops. Now all you'll do is once you've cut your chain to the length that you want it, you just want to string up through that little loop, just like that. And then I just folded it in half. And then I just took a pair of chain nose pliers, and in this case, I'm going to actually use my crimpers because they're an all-in-one kind of a tool. As you can see there at the top, it's got a nice chain nose. Easy enough for me to hold everything and crimp later on, which I'll need it for anyway. So I'm just going to separate my wires, and then all I'm going to do is just coil this little baby wire around the big wire. Just a few times, you don't need to do much. It's going to be practically hidden anyways, but I like to do just a nice clean wire wrap. Here we go. So that should be more than sufficient enough to hold it. I just did a couple coils. Now to trim it, there's a couple things you can do. You can use your Xuron cutters that are these right here, but these are just as well suited for this type of wire because it's so thin. So if you want to use your flush cutters, which you'd normally use for beading wire, that's perfectly okay. I think this wire is actually thin enough to where it won't wear out your pliers. Although these are pretty strong anyways. I've cut some terrible things with them and they've pretty much withstand that. But I think in order to keep them sharp longer, I would recommend just using them for thin, super thin wire or beading wire, but no heavy wire. Okay, so I'm just gonna tuck that little piece in just so it's nice and tucked away. And so now I have both of my sides wire wrapped. Now it looks like on my main piece that the chain is going upwards, so that's where I want to make sure that I have it at. But to the bottom side, I'm just going to string on a nice little decorative bead. These are available in the mini mixes, but I think they're also individually found on the Jesse James Beads website. I'm sure they'll post a link to it as well. See, I'm just going to string it up through, and pretty much the same process as before. Simply just fold it in half and just like kind of coil it around. It is okay if it's not perfect, because the funny thing is it's going to be tucked away inside the bead anyway. So as long as it's nice and like wrapped a few times, that's all that's going to matter. So now I'll just simply trim it, just like that. And if a little piece is sticking out, which it looks like it is, I'm just going to use my chain nose pliers to tuck it in. And really, it should just disappear inside the bead, which is exactly what I want it to do. Okay, so now I want a jump ring, which I hope I have one. I think I've got one here. Okay, so now I want to do that same method to the jump ring up there. Now here's a little tip for you guys. Because this wire is so thin and I am afraid that it's going to get out into that little like space where the jump ring is, what I recommend doing is just giving the jump ring a little bit of a pinch. That'll create a small dent in your jump ring, and that's where your wire will kind of stabilize if you wire wrap it tight enough, so that way it won't slip around the jump ring. So I just actually figured this out today, and it seemed to work and solve all of my problems, so I was very happy about that. But you can just kind of fold it in half and basically grab your pliers, make sure that you've got everything kind of nice and stable there, and then just wire wrap around what you have already wire wrapped. Pretty easy. There we go. I just did that a few times, no big deal. And you'll simply trim and tuck. Kind of like that nice little method there. It's like nothing's sticking out, so we're in good shape. If it's still a little slippy, then all you can do is just kind of go where that dent was made and just kind of press it, and it should just stop. So that's pretty much that. And then here, I went ahead and pre-strung. Oh, actually I had one attached to this already, which is perfect. That's alright though. I can always attach it later. I had attached a crimp, which this particular leather cord, it's a 1mm, I believe, or maybe 2, 1.5, somewhere around there. It's a smaller cord. Metallic green, which is such a perfect color for this. And it's just super flexible, and it does happen to go through a crimp, which I was excited about. So basically, yeah, I just took a 2mm crimp and strung both my pieces onto it. Just do a normal crimp now. These are the crimpers that I'm using. So as you could see, they have a little dent there at the very bottom that looks like a V, and that's what I'm going to stick my, my little crimp in. Now with leather cord, unlike beading cord, you do want to be a little bit more sensitive to the crimp, so I'm not going to be as hard on it. Only because if I do it like super hard, it will cut the leather cord, and it's basically having to start over. So I do want to be a little bit sensitive about that. Okay, and then you just turn it on its side and give it a good squish. If it's all together, it will not shift or move. And now all you can do is basically trim your leather cord there. And then I just picked out a few beads from the Goddesses mini mix, and these were like large hold enough to where I could just string it over the crimp there, and then now everything is pretty much set in place. Now granted that I have a jump ring attached to this already, I will fix that in the photo that I take after this. But for the time being, I'm just going to attach this together for now so that you get the idea. And I'm just going to use my fingers to do this real quick. Here we go. Ideally, you would not have 2 jump rings there, but essentially that is the design right there. Pretty easy. I think it's pretty fun. So let me turn this camera around and show you the full view. Wow. Okay. Now, how do you guys love that pendant? Because I'm in love with it. I mean, this design does not need a clasp at all. It's super simple, easy to throw on. It's really long, which I really like too. So anyways, there it is. Pretty fantastic. Again, I will fix that jump ring issue, but you kind of get the idea there. Pretty neat. So I hope that you will check out the Jesse James Beads website. Find these gorgeous materials. Again, that chain, where did I put it? Here it is. I'm obsessed over this chain. I want to make more stuff with it, so stay tuned. I will definitely find some ideas and inspiration and creativity to use it. But if you love these tutorials, definitely check out the Jesse James Beads website blog, as well as Facebook, of course, and then YouTube. Can't forget about YouTube. Check out YouTube and subscribe to Jesse James Beads on there. There's a ton of tutorials. We're just gonna beef up that library and bring as much creativity as we can to you guys. And if you love me personally, I'm Nealay Patel. My brand is called Beads and Bubbles, and it is a creative happy hour that I do once a month. It's the last Wednesday of every month. I pick a project that is just kind of anything, and I ask you all to come and join me. We're gonna talk it up, chat it up, maybe sip on your favorite bubbly, whether it's soda or champagne in my case, and just have a good time. So check it out, and until next time, I will see you guys and keep creating.